and be on par economically, he just can't lose the next battle, or Fantasy's going to run away with the game. He's going to run away with map control. And anyway, Flash looks like he's got some vultures running around. He could really stand to do some harassment right now. Flash has, and we saw that extra control, I keep saying control tower, extra machine shop earlier, by the way, from Fantasy. Remember that? Yeah, that's why he had those extra tanks there. He was macroing up some extra tanks instead of vultures, and just worked out really, really well for him. And Flash just got so unlucky. And also, I mean, you know, he's partly at fault for it. It's not just luck, but, you know, Fantasy had those tanks that were just damaged, and they were still firing. You know, a tank at 1 hit point can still fire. And so Flash just got a little unlucky that those tanks got so low on hit points without dying, and also, you know, because then he pulled his, right when he was about to kill like 3 tanks with those vultures, he pulled his vultures away to try and save them. And so that didn't work for him out for him either. Anyway, so Fantasy now trying to kind of push down the middle a little bit, trying to maintain this map control, trying to chase Flash's vultures around. Flash is going to have to reinforce that high ground sort of in the top right-ish area. And Flash actually taking the top right base also. So even though he just lost a big battle, he's gotten that high ground, and he's comfortable enough with that high ground that he's going to try and take another base and stay economically ahead of Fantasy, and that's how he does it. That's how he wins. But he's a little behind on factories, though. He's got 5 factories to, I think I saw, like 6 or 7 in Fantasy's base. Here at Fantasy trying to charge up the ramp here. Flash has more tanks up there, though, but he doesn't have any support. Where are his vultures? His vultures are nowhere to be seen. And oh, but the mines don't quite pick him off. Flash coming in with some extra tanks at just the last moment here. I think he's going to be able to set them up in a good spot where they're just a little bit out of range, so he can still hold that high ground. And no, he's not able to do that. They're just still barely within range, taking more hits. Wow, and finally gets a few vultures in there at just a perfect moment to take a couple hits from those tanks and save the last of his tanks. But that was amazing. Fantasy's playing really, really well here, and he's getting really lucky with these battles. And oh man, there's the Wraith coming in. Where's that Goliath? Did the Goliath die in the battle? Apparently it did. He had that one Goliath around, and I always wonder why Terran players don't keep those Goliaths back a little bit, at least 1 or 2 of them. You know, they send them in to die to tanks, and it makes sense to save the tanks, but you want 1 or 2 Goliaths around just in case, you know? Anyway, ooh, Flash sending out the SCVs to repair the tank being attacked by this single Wraith, so it looks like he may be able to save that, and in the meantime, getting up 2 gas mines at the top right base, but Fantasy coming in with some massive amounts of vultures doing massive damage to these tanks. Tanks trying to fall back. Excuse me. Tanks trying to fall back. Oh, that mine goes off. Whoa, the mine barely gets picked off. Wow, wow, just very, very lucky there. And now he comes in and sieges up at the exact wrong moment. Flash coming in with his own vultures to reinforce and plants mines all over those tanks and hugs the tanks so that they splash each other as well. Beautifully done, beautifully done. Looks like that is going to get cleaned up. Actually, he lost a lot of vultures there. Not necessarily the best trade-off there, having to send out some SCVs to take some hits while he moves his own tanks into position, and some vultures and Goliaths out. Fantasy doing just an awesome job in this battle here, and coming in with a dropship as well. Looks to be empty, looks to just be A-moved there or something, but wow, Flash barely holding that off. Fantasy just attacking everywhere Flash is not, with Wraiths and vultures and tanks everywhere. Fantasy is just outplaying Flash at this point, which is absolutely amazing. Flash is still in it though. Flash is just so good at holding out and defending and keeping up his macro while he's defending and pushing back eventually, but he may not have an opportunity here too. Wow, and now a tank dropping behind the lines as well. And he's killed all the SCVs or forced them to run away at this base. Flash still has that top right base going though, so he's got an extra gas mine on Fantasy, who looks to be thinking about taking. No, I think Fantasy might have taken an extra mineral base in the middle-ish of the map, so he's still got a lot of money coming in here. Flash still with that high ground, but he hasn't been able to get Goliath out. He made a Goliath to try and defend against this Wraith, and it got caught up in the battle outside of his front door, and now vultures running and attacking those SCVs at the top right. So Flash is now barely mining right now. I think he's sent some more SCVs back up to that 12 o'clock base, but he is in bad shape right now economically. He's just lost so many SCVs to these vultures, and he hasn't done anything back. He needs to do something back to Fantasy pretty soon, because he's good at defending and holding his own in the midst of defense, but you know, he's going to have to do something. soon, or he is just going to be so far behind. Fantasy has taken that extra base, so Fantasy's at 4 bases right now. Flash at kind of 3.5, 3.25. Flash looking to take another base at the 9 o'clock position, it looks like, but oh, 3 dropships worth of units are going to come in and, oh, just smash. They're going to come in and smash Flash's main here, right in amongst the factories. Siege mode goes down only, oh no, there's full tankage there. He's going to start killing off those machine shops first, taking those out, but Flash with 3 drops of his own. Are they going to get there in time? Vulture's being dropped into support, but Flash dropping all kinds of forces on top of him. Are the mines going to drag into him? Yes, mines. Oh, and he tries to pick the forces up out of the blast of the mines. Succeeds with a few forces and manages to save some of his army to move up here and try and finish off those vultures in his base. And, well, I got a sneeze coming. Oh. Sorry. Cover up my mic there but I did sneeze. Anyway, so Flash, wow, just masterfully holding that off. Not taking nearly as much damage as he should have from 6 siege tanks being dropped in there and some vultures to support. But still taking some damage nonetheless. And Fantasy in the meantime has moved up and is trying to kind of establish a position here. He's moving in with a lot of forces up this, but he didn't bring in much support units, but there are the support units in the dropships. Well, actually some more tanks, just overwhelming forces here, and Flash is going to lose complete control of that high ground. Flash's defenses are in tatters right now. He does nothing to stop Fantasy from moving up and killing that top right base. He's desperately trying to mount another force here. He's got another line of tanks. He moved all of his forces up to the other side of that high ground. And now he's going to have to move some tanks down into the low ground as well so that Fantasy can't sweep in there. With the threat of those tanks in the middle, keeping Flash's forces in place. And now Fantasy has taken the bottom left-hand corner. Flash has taken 9. Fantasy has taken 6. This is getting ridiculous. They're both just expanding and attacking everywhere, but Fantasy is still outplaying Flash at most of the turns in this game. And now attacking that actually he's when I say he's taken, he apparently hasn't taken that 9 o'clock position. He's got no SCVs there. Just the command center being pecked to death by a few vultures. It's just lifted off and run off. And Fantasy has control of that. He's going to try and build a turret. The turret's going to try and he's going to try and take down the command center with an SCV by building a turret underneath it. No, not really. But basically, it's just building that turret to kind of say, this is my spot. Obviously, he's going to be able to run away, but, you know, just make it just that much more difficult for Flash to drop in there. It looks like Flash might try and drop in that location quickly before those turrets really get up, but he's got to watch out because Fantasy is moving in with his own drop. Flash not the best defended against it. Oh, wow, that's interesting. That tank can reach all the way over there. Anyway, so Flash can't worry about that 9 o'clock position. He's got to worry about the whole top right area, because if that folds, he'll lose 2 bases, and then he'll really just be done for. He'll lose control of 2 bases. But Fantasy just out-expanding Flash at this point, just because he's won a couple crucial battles, and with that map control, he's just been expanding like crazy. And he's gotten that bottom left expansion as well. Here comes some Flash counter harassment, though. A few vultures there. Fantasy's got nothing to do about it. He's going to have to run those SCVs pretty quickly. Instead, he's just going to let them mine themselves to death, I guess. Interesting decision. But he should really have gotten those SCVs out of the way, I believe. Anyway, he's going to be able to kill off those vultures with a squad or 2 of his own vultures moving in here. But, oh no! Flash dropping all over his forces on the side there. So Flash is going to take control of that 9 o'clock position again. Nicely done. He's very, very good, very tactically well done, and very, very important tactic as well, because he was starting to lose control of the bottom 2/3 of the map, and he needed to do something. And when in TVT, you set up these large siege lines and defenses, and really the way to get back at someone who's well defended is to hit them with a large amount of your forces where they are soft, and that's exactly what Flash did. He moved in where Fantasy had a few cursory defenses with a lot of his forces, and Fantasy trying to drop back on top of Flash's defenses there, completely obliterating those tanks. Nicely done. Flash is going to go back here to his rally point and load up. Flash in the meantime drops some forces into that, or move some forces perhaps, into that 9 o'clock location to try and just keep control of that base. That base a little bit more important than the one inside it because of the gas mine there. But yeah, Flash just trying to take control of that base so we can at least land it and get mining there, because that's kind of the important part at this point. At this point, he just, he would like to be able to establish a good position to defend his bases, but at this point, if he can just hold a base and mine it, that's going to be good for him. He still managed to keep that top right base, though, despite Fantasy really, really pushing in hardcore on that location. I'm a little surprised Fantasy didn't put more effort into attacking that location, I guess partly because he wanted to try and establish the top left area, the 9 o'clock area. Here comes the dropships, though. This could be Fantasy's big move. He could be moving in right now to... Never mind, it looks like he's not going to quite go for a drop. Wait, maybe. He's got those tanks unsieged. He might try and go in and break Flash's defenses. Flash, I think... He's got his forces kind of patrolling around in that area. He's got a few tanks on the low ground and some turrets, but they're not in quite the right position to defend if Fantasy makes a move. But Fantasy's not going to make a move to the top right. He's sending his dropships down to the 9 o'clock position. Flash has some tanks there and some Goliaths. He's got his dropships headed that way. He sees this coming. He's sending his dropship forces that way. Some vultures coming in. Tanks are surrounded. Tons of tanks dropping all over Flash's forces. Flash coming in for the counter drop. Flash was in siege mode and Fantasy was not. And Flash's siege tanks in the right position. Fantasy did not drop on all of Flash's siege tanks, so Flash's siege tanks